Nitrous oxide, the best bang for the buck in speed parts. We are gonna show you how to deal with a very basic 150 horsepower carbureted system. There is no modification you can make to your naturally aspirated car that will make more power more quickly, more cheaply than nitrous oxide. This episode is going to be all about the basics of what is probably your first nitrous system, 150 horsepower gain for a typical carbureted engine. So here's what's going to happen. I'm first going to explain how nitrous oxide makes power. Then I'm going to show you the details of this plate system itself. We're going to talk about the engine we're testing it on, and then the whole episode is going to be packed with tech tips. We're going to show you some stuff about installation, we're going to talk safety, and most importantly, we're going to go through tuning and then show you big power on nitrous oxide. Let's start with why nitrous makes power. The very basic thing you need to understand initially is that the nitrous oxide is injected into the intake track of your engine along with supplemental fuel. We'll get more into that later. Step one on making power is cooling the intake charge. So nitrous oxide is stored in the bottle as a liquid, and when it comes out, it actually boils at negative 127 degrees Fahrenheit. Watch. See what I mean? So that mist coming out is really cold. It's a fog of nitrous oxide, so you are really super chilling the intake charge, and as we've shown you in past episodes, that makes power. The other thing is that nitrous oxide is a compound molecule that is 2 parts nitrogen and 1 part oxygen. The oxygen is the important part. When the nitrous is discharged into the engine and into the combustion chamber, when it sees that high spike of heat, the nitrogen and the oxygen separates. So you've got a bunch of extra oxygen in the engine. And let's review what makes fire. You must have oxygen, a fuel, and a combustion source. So now you're adding way more oxygen in there. We're also spraying way more fuel into the engine, and of course the spark plug is the ignition source. Now the big deal is not the nitrous itself, it's the fact that in that process we can burn way more fuel than we can naturally aspirated. And it's that whole bunch of more fuel that's making more power. It's also combusting much more quickly and sharply than it would in naturally aspirated trim. So that's how nitrous makes power. Let's talk about the basics of how we're going to get it into your carbureted engine. The nitrous system begins for a carbureted system with this plate right here, which is made out of aluminum and has 2 spray bars in it, and it installs underneath the carburetor. One of them takes the nitrous oxide on the blue fitting, and the other side takes the supplemental fuel from the red fitting. Now, if you look very, very closely at these spray bars, you'll see that they have holes in them. The bottom one is fuel, the top one is nitrous oxide. What's important about that spray bar design is that you've got fuel going this way and nitrous oxide coming in this way. The nitrous is going to be at roughly 950 psi. The fuel is going to be somewhere between 5 and 7 psi in a carbureted application. So you can see when that 950 psi nitrous intersects with that fuel, it's going to bring it into the manifold and make a big fog out of it. It's going to atomize that fuel better than it would in a naturally aspirated situation. So that is the basics of how the plate works. Now, how are we actually getting that nitrous into the engine? Here we go. First of all, there is the nitrous oxide solenoid. Second of all, there is the fuel enrichment solenoid. You'll see that the nitrous solenoid is larger than the fuel enrichment solenoid on this sniper system and also on virtually every nitrous system that I've seen. The reason for that is that the nitrous solenoid needs to deal with that 950 PSI. So it's got to have bigger springs, a sturdier valve, things like that. The fuel solenoid, on a carbureted application in particular, ends up being smaller. Right here on the fuel side, you see a filter. You really should run a filter both on the fuel solenoid as well as on the nitrous solenoid. Usually the NOS and sniper kits come with a fitting right here that has a little screen in it that acts as a filter. And that's important because it's a small orifice size in these solenoids and you don't want to clog them because then you end up restricting fuel or restricting nitrous flow. So obviously, you've got nitrous oxide coming in from the bottle into the nitrous solenoid. In this case, we have a nitrous bottle pressure gauge, also critical, which we'll talk about later. Next, you've got this hose that feeds into the nitrous plate. Now, where it connects to the nitrous plate is a very critical part, which is the jet. So this is a little metered orifice, very similar to what you'll find in a carburetor, but it's designed differently. And it slides into that fitting right there. And that is what is controlling the volume of nitrous and the volume of fuel that's going into the engine. And so that part is critical. If you run without the jet, you're gonna make a lot of power. You really want the jet in there. And of course, the same holds true for the fuel side. You've got that jet and all the same situation. Of course, the nitrous is stored in the bottle, which is typically mounted in the trunk. One of the things you need to know is that inside the bottle is nitrous that is actually a liquid, and it has a siphon tube inside the bottle that runs from here down to this corner to suck it all out of the bottle. If you run this upside down, you end up not draining the whole bottle. Next, I'm gonna tell you the engine that we're gonna test this on. Although in truth, with 150 shot of nitrous oxide, you can do this on almost any engine as long as it's making in the neighborhood of 300 horsepower. As a matter of fact, I've done 350 small block Chevys with 8-to-1 compression that are bone stock, maybe with a cam intake and headers, and I've scored 150 shot on 91 octane. So you can do that, but we're gonna try and be a little bit more responsible about it. The first way we're gonna do that is run this engine on Sunoco 110 octane fuel. We're trying to prevent the detonation that can be induced with the higher cylinder pressures of nitrous oxide, and that's very destructive. Now, the other thing here is we've got an all-forged bottom end. This is a 363 cubic inch engine that is based on Ford 289 or 302 architecture. It all comes from Dart machinery. The short block is what they call an SHP unit. It's got forged pistons, H-beam rods, forged crank. It's beef. Just on the top end real quick, it's got a 242 solid roller cam. It has Dart 225 CNC ported cylinder heads, an Edelbrock Super Victor intake manifold, and an 850 carburetor. That's the basics of the engine. It makes 530 horsepower. It runs to 7,000 RPM. It's awesome. The most critical thing is gonna be the rest of the episode, because we're gonna show you a bunch of tech tips, a bunch of safety, and probably most importantly, all of the tuning that you're gonna need to know how to do, from fuel pressure to jetting to bottle temperature. It's all in this episode. I'm gonna go sit down now with Steve Dulcich, of course, but Steve Brule is missing this episode. Don't worry, he'll be back. Sitting in for him, we've got Richard Holdner. You need to see his YouTube channel, which is called Richard Holdner, because he does all kinds of crazy dyno testing, and that means he's gonna be running the dyno for us and helping out a bunch as we baseline this thing naturally aspirated and then start to make big power on nitrous. Okay, guys, rate your love of nitrous on a scale of 1 to 10.
2.
2?
2.
Wow.
I'm saying 12.
12? 12?
Yeah.
Oh, really? You
yeah.
love nitrous.
The reason I like nitrous is, one, it's the easy button.
Yep.
So it's so easy to put on, and it transforms whatever you have, makes it like the whole next level.
Yep.
Until it blows up.
That's why he's a 2, because recently we chucked 2 engines on nitrous, but we killed rod bearings. That's not our fault.
Yeah, plus the Buick we never really put together. It was a junkyard engine.
Right.
But...
Yeah. No, that's what we killed is junkyard motors.
Those are the best
rod
ones.
bearings. Yeah, it is. I'm going to go 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
8.
No.
And there's another aspect to the whole deal, too, for me.
What?
It runs out.
Yeah.
You have to stay on that bottle pressure and pay attention to things, whereas all I want to do is step on the gas and go.
You are a core NA guy.
Yeah.
He's all motor.
Yeah. Speaking of all motor, let's fire it up and just baseline the thing on motor just to show everybody what we're working on here. Go.
Wah!
Okay, big surprise. This thing runs exactly the same as last time we tested it.
I know, but it's just as exciting to me to hear the thing at $7,000.
I know, 7 grand is cool.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the curve. Here are our power numbers at peak. The torque, 438.8, and the horsepower all the way up at 6,900 RPM at 531.5. It's interesting, the torque is so flat in here that from run to run, you kind of get to pick where the RPM peak is.
We call that a torque plateau.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good, especially for a single plane intake manifold. This time it made peak torque, it looks like at 5,900 RPM.
This is a good little motor.
Yeah, it's not bad.
That's a good little small buck. I like those 363s.
Yeah, for 10.5 to 1, all good. But not good enough.
Really?
Yeah,
How do we
not
make
good
it
enough.
better?
Exactly. So we're gonna roll into the dyno cell, and I already showed you how the plate works, but we're gonna show you how to set up the fuel system and the nitrous bottle. Ready?
Okay.
Let's go. Okay, one of the first things we want to do when we're setting this thing up for nitrous is we have to adjust the fuel pressure. And one common mistake that a lot of people make is they set their fuel pressure just static. And the problem is when you hit the nitrous, you have a bunch of fuel flow and the pressure drops. So we're going to set the fuel pressure with a flow orifice to simulate what's happening when you actually hit the button. Let's check it out. Put this fancy little deal on here. We've got a flow orifice. This simulates the amount of flow that's going through the nitrous plate. So what we're going to do is flow this into our bottle, and then we'll set our fuel pressure. See, with it flowing, we're a little over 7 PSI. Now that we set our fuel pressure, let's take a look at timing and spark plugs.
And here's another tip with nitrous, and it has to do with the spark plugs. You want to go 1 or 2 heat ranges colder than what you'd run on your NA or naturally aspirated tune-up. So we've got NKG 9s in here. That's a very cold plug, so we'll be okay with this. Now, if you're running a big hit of nitrous, you might have a cutback ground strap and generally run a narrower spark gap. So Richard's got the fuel pressure and flow dialed in. You know a little bit more about the spark plugs, and David's gonna tune you up above bottle pressure.
All right, here we go, the bottle. Let's talk a little bit about bottle safety and performance. As I told you, this thing is filled with liquid right now, and it's a high pressure. Typically, you want 900 to 1,000 PSI. Here's the thing about that. If you drop the bottle and knock the valve off, it turns into a rocket. People have literally been killed by that. So it's really important with bottle safety not to drop the thing. Now, you can hook the bottle to the nitrous solenoid with either a -4 AN line or a -6, which is larger, -4 is smaller. The -4 is going to be acceptable up to about a 250 horsepower shot. Above that, you want to run the larger -6 line. Now let's talk about bottle pressure. Optimum is 900 to 950, and the way we normally test that is by temperature. We know that a full bottle at 92 or 93 degrees, as measured with an infrared gun on the outside, will give you the pressure that you need. That pressure is going to drop if the bottle is colder or if the bottle is not full. So you want a nitrous gauge to judge that. What happens if you've got too little bottle pressure? is that the thing is gonna run really rich because you're injecting less oxygen into the engine. So how do you know the bottle's full? There's gonna be a label on it that tells you, this wants to weigh 24 pounds, 2 ounces to be completely full, which it is. Now for our first test on nitrous, we're gonna run this cold. When I hook it up, we're gonna look and see if the pressure is really low, which I hope it is, so we can demonstrate how bad a cold bottle performs. So that's bottle stuff. The last thing that we're gonna do for the tune-up is retard the ignition timing. Right now, the timing's at 34 degrees. The rule tends to be to retard ignition timing 4 degrees for every 100 horsepower of nitrous oxide. Because we're running a 150 horsepower shot, we're gonna retard the timing 6 degrees. Right now it's at 34 for naturally aspirated performance, and 6 degrees minus means we're gonna be running 28 degrees. So we're gonna do that and then hit it with the squeeze. Okay, let's talk about why we retarded the ignition timing. Who wants to go?
Dulcich first.
Dulcich.
So it won't detonate
Okay, why would it?
because of the rate of flame propagation.
There's more fuel and more oxygen in the chamber, and so therefore cylinder pressure is higher, and all the molecules, are handing off fire to each other much more rapidly. So the thing is, ignition timing is how many degrees of crankshaft rotation before the piston is at top dead center does the spark happen. And what you don't want is a whole bunch of cylinder pressure while the piston is still moving up. And because the nitrous combusts much more quickly than a naturally aspirated combination, you have to retard the timing so that the peak cylinder pressure happens at roughly the same number of degrees after top dead center as it does NA, which is 10.
Yeah, having
Right?
it happen at the right time obviously is critical for this thing to be pushing down to maximum effort and making all that power.
Yeah. Next question. We are running this thing off of a button that you are controlling.
Yes.
Instead of a window switch or a throttle switch.
I am in full control.
And so where are you gonna hit the nitrous?
We can hit it wherever you want. A lot of times guys will run this thing, and some guys, as you know, the drag strip, they'll hit it like off the line on the trans brake. They'll I know you're guilty of that.
Yeah. So BMEP is highest at peak torque, right?
That's right.
So therefore you don't want to hit the nitrous below peak torque if you can help it, because then you go through the highest cylinder pressure. Yeah. And if you're lugging the engine at too low of an RPM on the bottle, bad things happen. So 5,000 RPM?
Yeah, I'm thinking 5-ish is probably gonna be fine for there.
Which is at peak torque on this thing?
Pretty
The
much.
thing is, remember the curve, we have a torque plateau.
Yeah.
So we have within a couple of foot-pounds. So, anywhere in there, it's probably gonna be fine. We got enough octane in it. We're gonna retard the timing. Nice and cool, negative 129 degrees. I think it's probably gonna be fine.
Okay.
And it's not that big of a shot anyway.
A Richard Holdner probably is not the mark of confidence. All right, fired up.
Okay.
Let's go. Wow.
Here we go.
What do we got?
Yeah? I don't know, you tell me.
We got some good stuff here. And boom, nitrous. Boom. That made a difference.
It did. Here's what you want to know. 595 pound-feet of torque and 671.9 horsepower. So that's a gain of about 140.
Yep.
Yeah, which is kind of on target for the 150. What's that?
What's that?
I moved up from a 2 to a 4 now.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
we got Dulcich up higher.
That's right.
You know what's freaking me out about this, though, is why didn't it kill power down here with 6 degrees less timing?
I don't know. I swear to you guys, I retarded the timing by 6 degrees. I don't know what's going on there.
We've done timing episodes where we've shown that it really matters. It matters way more than air-fuel ratio.
It makes me want to go back and double check, but I retarded the timing. We went from 34 degrees down to 28 degrees to make sure that it was safe for the nitrous.
See, often what happens is if you retard the timing for nitrous, especially if you've got a big hit and you're retarding it a lot, you can make the engine actually not want to stage at the drag strip because it's such a dog, which is why they make like an MSD ignition box that will step retard the timing as soon as you hit the nitrous button. So therefore you've got normal timing down here, and when you hit the button, it pulls the timing out of it, but
I'm scratching my head.
Wow.
Makes no sense. The other thing that disappoints me for our future in trying to make more power here is that often an out-of-the-box tune-up, you'll hit the button, you'll see a peak power number, and then it'll slope down. The horsepower curve will look a lot like this torque curve right here. It'll just drop. But this one is, in fact, increasing with RPM.
So you're disappointed because we nailed it right out of the box, right?
I guess. I hope that we can tune the thing and make it better.
The thing that I like about this setup is if you look at this thing, like you were saying, usually it'll go up and then the power curve will fall off. This is railroad tracking the factory curve, which is what you want, but we'd like to see us get even more next time.
Well, so now our challenge is going to be tuning even more power into this thing when it's actually going pretty well.
Yeah.
Oh, let's talk air-fuel ratio, which is going to be affected by that bottle pressure.
Let's take a look.
Wow. So the black line here is the naturally aspirated tune-up, and you can see we hit a peak of 13-1. It probably went down to 12.7. This one is way down here at 10.9 to 10.7-1, which is what we would call super rich on the nitrous oxide. And the things that can affect that are fuel pressure, nitrous jet, and pressure of the nitrous, and actually volume of the nitrous going in if it's jetted up. The next thing that we were gonna do is heat up the bottle. So this bottle pressure was about 850, the bottle temperature was 77. So we need to put it in the drink and heat it up to 92 degrees. And see what
Westech
happens.
bottle heater.
Yeah, so we're gonna walk in right now and warm the bottle from 77 degrees up to 92. Well, let me show you a problem. The nitrous line is disconnected, so there's no pressure in it whatsoever. Meanwhile, the gauge is reporting that I've got 900 pounds in it. So that thing is not working. What that means is disregard all commentary that I made about bottle pressure. It just isn't gonna be relevant. Temperature is relevant. It was 77 degrees before. Right now, Troy is gonna dunk it in our water tank, which is gonna heat it up to 92 degrees. He'll measure it with a temperature gun. Here's something about heating nitrous bottles. When you put it in a car, NOS and other companies actually sell a blanket you can put over it, strapped to it, that has electric in it, like a heated blanket, and it will heat up the bottle for you. The other thing that you see people doing that you never want to do is heating the thing up with a torch. I've seen bottles explode. Don't heat a bottle with a torch, ever. I have no idea. So let's have a look. This is going to be our comparison of the nitrous bottle at 77 degrees to the bottle at 93-ish degrees.
There we go.
All right, clearly the red lines here are going to be the higher bottle temperature. The black lines are the lower bottle temperature. So our new power numbers are 624.8 pound-feet of torque, and we made a whopping 681.9 horsepower. So this isn't really a massive difference.
I'm kind of surprised. I thought, given the change in pressure or the temperature that we did on the bottle by heating it up, putting in our the Westech bottle heater, that we would have saw more nitrous flow and kind of a bigger power gain. We saw a little bit, but not as much as I expected.
Yeah, you see it on the hit,
Right.
but not so much as it carries. Yeah.
Well, what do the air-fuel ratios tell us? Is there a clue in there somewhere?
You want to
There
take a look at
probably
this?
is. Yeah, let's have a look at that. But nonetheless, you know, I've spent my life worrying about nitrous bottle temperature, like heating it up in the rental car with the heater on, and it doesn't matter as much as I thought. Now we're gonna look at the air-fuel ratio curve to see if we accomplished anything with greater bottle temperature and pressure, which would theoretically lean it out, and in reality, not really at all.
So look down here, that's essentially the same. You can see a little bit of a difference like that from run to run, just doing the same thing.
Yeah.
That's really the same.
The difference here is you hitting the button just a fraction
I
early.
missed it by 100 RPM.
Yeah, no, that's the same thing. But nonetheless, it's still 10.7-1. It's still really rich.
So
it's
that would
really rich.
imply that it's not really taking in much more nitrous, even at that temperature differential. You think?
We're gotta have a little bit more flow,
Yeah,
right?
it's got to. That's what I was thinking, is
Yeah.
that it's making more power because it has more nitrous, but apparently not at a percentage that affects their fuel ratio very much.
Not as much. We gotta try to get more out of it, right?
So the question is, how do we affect the air-fuel ratio? I mean, there's fuel pressure, bottle nitrous flow, there's nitrous jet, right? So let's try fuel pressure.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
start with that, and then we'll work on the other things.
So we're at 7 pounds now.
That's right.
Do you want to go to 5 pounds flowing?
Let's take a swing at it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
5 PSI. Here
Let's
we go.
go.
Let's do it.
So our new power numbers are 620.7 pound-feet of torque and 688 horsepower. You can see here that the black lines are the low fuel pressure, which means leaning it out a little bit, and the red lines are what we did before. So it made a very minute change. But how about the air-fuel ratio?
Let's take a look at that.
Yeah. Okay, what is our difference, let's say point to point, like here?
We're looking about 3/10 of an air fuel point, 3 or 4/10. The interesting thing is that why is it getting lean and then rich and lean and rich? I don't understand that.
I think first we should explain to the audience that we've got a dedicated fuel system on the nitrous plate side into the fuel solenoid. So the carburetor is not being fed by the same fuel system as the fuel side of the nitrous, right?
That's right. That way we can just tune the nitrous portion of it and not the carburetor.
So this problem is not like a float bowl doing something weird or anything like that.
No.
It's strictly a nitrous situation. I don't know.
We went down to 5 PSI. Do you want to try less than that? I mean, I'd get a little scary.
No, you can't go to 3. I think your atomization goes away. Although the nitrous is intersecting the fuel. So the nitrous is busting up the fuel, but nonetheless, 3 PSI seems like it's just sort of.
So what do you think? It's a better idea maybe to go to the jet side of the fuel rather than the fuel pressure?
That's what I'm thinking. It's interesting though, I do see guys tuning with fuel pressure at the track. However, it's typically a more advanced system like a fogger or something like that, which has more orifice area with all of the jets in the thing. I guess at a 150 horse plate system, it's not that critical. But you know what? That's what we're learning here. So let's go take 2 jet sizes out of the fuel jet for the nitrous system. So I'm saying that we want to change the jet on the nitrous system, on the fuel side of the nitrous system. It's a fool's game to be trying to tune your nitrous system with the jets in your carburetor. You don't want to do that. First of all, it won't make a significant enough change. And second of all, if you did, you're going to make the thing undrivable without the nitrous.
Right. You already had it good, and now you're trying to tune it on the nitrous and ruining everything else outside of the nitrous.
Boom. Yeah. So don't tune your carburetor for your nitrous system. Tune your nitrous system for your nitrous system. All right, 5 PSI, 2 jets out.
Let's go tune the nitrous system.
Two safety tips about what Troy just did. He was letting the pressure out of the line with the bottle closed. First of all, the nitrous coming out of that can burn you because it's so cold, so be careful of that. The other thing is that you don't want to unthread that thing all of the way because the hose will shoot off and swing back and hit you in the tooth and take your tooth out. So Troy knows that, he's being careful. Okay, there is a nitrous system jet. You can see it's not the same as a carburetor jet at all. The other thing to be aware of is sometimes different manufacturers use different styles of jet. This right here is universal for NOS systems. So this one is going to be a 63, so we'll be changing it to a 61. Here's our number 61 fuel jet going in. By the way, the number does reflect the orifice size. And here's another tip. If you're dealing with an NOS brand system or the Sniper, the fuel side has red fittings and the nitrous side has blue fittings. So you can always keep that straight. Two jet sizes really didn't make a difference. We already looked at that, so we're gonna go another 2. All right, we're taking a big swing. I had suggested 2 more jet sizes. I asked Dulcich about 3 and he said no. We're going 6. We just decided we're gonna go all in. It feels like now we're finally starting to get somewhere. Yeah, exactly. Let's have a look. We made 695.2 horsepower, which is not 700, and we made 628.7 pound-feet of torque. So that's up. It's our best that we've seen yet, but by how much? There you go. So that's how much we gained just with fuel delivery. It's not that much. It's like, what are we messing around with this for?
It's not a ton, but it is some. So if a guy's trying to whittle away at stuff, and this is the kind of whittling you get.
Let's have a look at the air-fuel ratio to see if we even made a difference, because man, that's a big change. We dropped the fuel pressure.
I would think so.
So that's a huge change from a 63 jet to a 55. And finally, it did make a difference. It looks like one ratio, not quite one full ratio. I'll tell you what we're doing all wrong here.
What?
We're trying to lean the thing out by removing fuel.
Yeah.
How should we be leaning it out, Richard Holdner?
Adding nitrous!
Yes, that would be the better answer. From the very beginning, we should have been putting bigger nitrous jets in it instead of smaller fuel jets. My question is, can we do that at this point? How rich are we, or how lean are we?
Well, it's down below the 12s. The only time we're seeing like a little bit of a lean spike is right at the hit. You know, we're seeing it right at 13, which is, you know, we're getting in a little bit scary area on the hit.
Yeah.
The rest of it's nice.
Okay, well, we should have been tuning with the nitrous jet, and I hate myself for not doing that. I think we've gone this far. I don't want to make a jet change because I think we're going to overshoot it and make it way lean, and we're going to hurt parts.
Okay.
So instead, my thought is let's tickle 2 degrees of ignition timing into it, as in advance it 2 degrees, and see if that kicks us up over that 700 horsepower number. All right, we've looked at the data between the timing change, and honestly, it does not matter. But you know what? This engine didn't care naturally aspirated either. It was very insensitive to timing changes.
No, so that seemed to carry over with the nitrous too.
We've done everything about fuel tuning. We've done a little bit about ignition tuning, and at every step, we've made almost no change whatsoever, right?
So what do we say?
All we've done is make it less safe. So what I say is, if you're only gonna run 150 shot, take that thing out of the box, slap it on your engine, and have a nice day. I'm irritated by this. I really, I wanted to make changes, and it just wasn't there.
But the thing is, I am irritated too, Freiburger.
Okay.
Because I wanted 4.8 more horsepower.
It did not make 700.
What are we gonna do about
Sometimes
that?
it's like that.
250 shot?
No.
Yeah.
So you're not taking a little swing, you're you're taking a big swing.
Don't care, I'm done with fooling around with this. I want to go to 26 degrees at timing, which maybe 24 degrees at timing. Does that sound
Obviously,
about
it
right?
doesn't seem to matter
No,
whatever
it
you
doesn't
say.
matter. So let's go 24 degrees at timing, and let's hit it with a 250 shot.
Bring the timing down, lots of jet, I'm all in.
Yeah, parts on the floor, baby. Parts
your
on
motor.
the floor, that's right. We're gonna jet this garbage. Let's go!
Yeah!
Okay, here's the dilemma. This thing made 768.2 horsepower and 698.8 pound-feet of torque. However, it's ridiculously rich. 9-to-1 is what we saw. 9-to-1. Like you said, it almost tied the lot.
We're that close.
Way too much fuel. And you know what? The right thing to do?
Add nitrous.
Exactly.
Yes.
But you know what? The plate will only go 250. It's probably a restriction.
It's maxed out, probably.
It's maxed out.
Yeah.
So
we have no other choice than to tune what we have, right?
which makes me feel better. Yeah, so we're gonna have to take fuel out of it rather than add nitrous to it.
That's the right thing to do.
Yeah, so let's go pick whatever jet is closest to what we have, because we don't have a big jet selection, part of the problem. Okay, let's do it.
All right.
This thing doesn't care.
It doesn't.
I don't
It does
get
not
it.
care.
No.
I don't get it at all. So Richard has pulled up the air-fuel ratio curve here. This difference is simply where he hit the button, so ignore that. What we're looking for is the air-fuel ratio all the way up here at the top end, and basically it took it from like 9.1 to 1 to 10.3 to 1, about 1 ratio. But did it make a difference in power? Did it care?
It did not.
And how does it only change 1 ratio going from a 93 to a 78?
It's
Not surprising, for sure, yeah.
I'm surprised what it did to the air fuel, and I'm surprised that we didn't see anything in power.
Little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Little bit.
Yeah.
We made a better peak horsepower number, 778.4, the best we've seen. Now the torque number didn't improve because he hit the button at a higher RPM. So that's not relevant right now. So with a full ratio change, that is the only difference that we saw. Red line is a little leaner and black line is stinky rich.
I can't believe how well the nitrous works, even when it has that much fuel.
Even though it's that terrible. I guess fat and happy. I can't
Yeah.
believe how a huge change makes very little difference in power or air fuel.
I was hoping we'd see more of a change as we went up in nitrous and fuel jet. I thought, okay, it's gonna be happier now that we take fuel away, it's gonna respond. The 150 maybe didn't, but the 250 should. Apparently,
Nothing matters.
None of it makes a
No.
difference.
No, it's wild. And I don't think that this takeaway is going to be the same for every nitrous plate, every power level. But my takeaway for this setup
Yeah.
is take it out of the box and run it.
Yeah.
You know,
Look at that tuning window, it's just a mile
it's
wide.
a mile. I suppose that if I was doing this on a chassis dyno or something and I saw the 9-to-1, I would go ahead and make this change and run it at 10.3 to 1 just because I think it's so rich that it's not safe. And 10.3 to 1 is
Yeah.
still ridiculously rich, but let's call it safe.
The great thing is, even if a guy misses by a mile on the tune, he puts a nitrous kit on, it's gonna work pretty well.
I guess there's no risk of being too lean. The only thing you can mess up's the timing, right?
Well, yeah, you're making serious horsepower gains anyway.
Well, let's talk about the serious horsepower gains. I did the math on what a 780 horsepower gain would be off our naturally aspirated pole. It's
Yeah.
47%. It's
big
like
jump.
half
Yeah.
again more power. That thing is brutal. That is a fast program that you can drive around on the street. Nitrous is cool.
Well, you guys would know if you put that in a car, what's that gonna run?
It depends what car it is, obviously, but that's a 9-second deal.
Freiburger.
What?
I'll have to go maybe even
7?
Oh!
7 or 778 horsepower.
There you go.
Oh,
like
he's
that.
stepping up from his 4
No.
to a 7?
Yeah, but where are you going to get that kind of horsepower at that kind of price? I mean,
And that is the wrap up of the whole thing. First takeaway, take your low buck nitrous system out of the box, run their tune-up, have a nice day. Second one is that nitrous is the cheapest power gain that you can get. And if you run this tune-up, it's going to be safe enough if you don't mess up your timing and if you've got good gas in it. And the third thing is we're changing opinions. We're getting a 7
That's
out of
right.
Dulcich, which we do pretty often on Engine Masters.
My smile's a mask, my voice preset, but loneliness is what I get. I text the void, I scan for you, but all I find is static truth. I cry in pixels, scream in code, still hoping someone breaks the mold. Binary tears, they fall unseen in a world that's lost between what is felt and what is fed. I'm alive, but just half dead. If they what is felt and what is fed. I'm alive but just half dead.